All right, Friday night. And that means it's time for some honest reviews. As you can see, I am solo in the studio right now. Tammy will be joining me a little bit later. Of course, if you're catching this live, you know we've just gone through the weekend where we had daylight savings time. So that, of course, I hope everybody has recovered from. I'm Joe with Green Oaks Gaming, and because it's Friday night, we're going to be reviewing a product that is focused on RPGs, and this one specifically focuses on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've actually got two books here you can see on the screen behind me. The first one is Mythic Odysseys of Theros, and that is the first book that we are going to be reviewing. There is a lot of content in this book. If we get through it fast enough, sorry, something off screen. If we get through it fast enough, then we are going to also review the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters. So I know the camera angle there is not great, and until Tammy makes it into the studio, we're just going to focus on the first camera. So the book is Mythic Odysseys of Theros. This is for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. You can see the cover art. Now, the Theros is designed off of Magic the Gathering, and the content was really designed for Magic the Gathering. Now, I'm not a Magic the Gathering player. I know quite a few people who are, however. But when this first came available, Tammy purchased this for me just because she is an enabler and she knows I love RPGs. So I'm going to read a little bit off of the front and the back. So on the front it says, "Clash with the gods of Theros in this campaign sourcebook for the world's greatest role-playing game." And then on the back, "Challenge the gods. The world's most popular role-playing game meets the world's most popular trading card game in this campaign sourcebook, detailing the Magic the Gathering world of Theros for use in Dungeons & Dragons. Legends walk the lands of Theros, a realm shaped by deities and the deeds of heroes. From the temples of omen-speaking oracles to the 5 realms of the underworld, the champions of the gods vie for immortal favor and a place among the world's living myths. Choose a supernatural gift that sets you on the path of destiny. Align yourself with one of Theros' 15 gods and carve a tale of odysseys and ordeals across the domains of mortals, gods, and the dead." So as you can see, the artwork is really cool. The print, of course, really nice. It is a pretty good sized source book comparatively. And I am joined in the studio now. Let's see if we can't do some
That's okay.
split camera. Well, you can say hi real quick and then I'll drop you down.
Hi, everybody.
So Tammy is here with me in the studio. Alrighty, so for the book itself, like I said, this one here was not initially on my radar. Tammy bought it for me, and I'm actually extremely glad she did. Now, it wasn't really on my radar because I know it was a Magic the Gathering source book, and as I said, I'm not a Magic the Gathering player. But the art alone, when I first received it, the cover really blew me away. It's got a Hydra, and the shadowed areas, it's like a galaxy. I know the camera is not picking this up fantastically, but just amazing artwork. And so when I first started going through it, I started getting more and more kind of understanding what the goal was. You can see Bubo there. or a Bubo-inspired image. But it goes through and talks about the world of Theros and a little bit about why they created the source book, both so you could play in the world of Theros, but also to drive creativity for GMs who wanted to do world building. So a lot of the graphics here, I'm going to move it. We'll pop it under this camera. I know it is not the best currently, but I think you'll be able to see a little bit better than me trying to hold it up. So let me minimize myself here, get myself a lot more small so we can focus on the content. So you can see the artwork here makes it look like carved relief in stone. This goes through and talks about the deities, as well as the shaping of the world, and just some fantastic bits on character creation. It talks about, in this game world, it's all about the heroes. This is really inspired by Greek mythology. So the heroes are the stuff of legends. When you're creating a character, you need to think of it as such. So how can your character be the stuff of legend? The characters themselves are going to be the heroes in these epic stories combining the world of man with the world of gods.
So, a big part of why I thought this would be a great book for you, you had talked about it wasn't on your radar. So, what put it on my radar was actually Bones 5. And the fact that there is the Greek Odyssey in that Bones 5 set that we picked up, and I felt like, hey, this is a way to combine that in with your gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. Which makes a lot of sense. Actually, hand me that Pegasus there. So the Greek expansion out of Bones 5, I absolutely fell in love with several of the sculpts. So one of them was a Pegasus I just finished painting today and just posted on Instagram. I will hold it up for a little bit better view here. But a lot of the Greek Odyssey pieces I've already painted. A cloud giant. I have painted a bronze golem, a hydra.
Wasn't she?
Yep, that was one of them. So this is the cloud giant. And with these sculptures, very focused on kind of that Greek feel about them. And all of the miniatures in that expansion had that kind of Athens feel, that Grecian feel to them. So I went crazy over them, the miniatures themselves. So when you decided to purchase this book for me, it actually worked really well because I can use this game setting as well as just some of the mechanics that they're setting out.
And incorporate those minis into
my campaign setting, because in my game world I do have a region that is very much like Theros, and to be able to utilize this as a supplement for my characters to build characters, whether we're doing a one-shot or if we decide to do a campaign in that region, we use the mechanics right out of this right onto the game table. I've already got miniatures for it, and it'll work out really perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The price for this, do you remember?
For the book was actually $27.99.
And you can see they have a lot of different options that you can choose for races. The Onins, Minotaurs, and just like many of the other supplement books, a lot of the aspects that they bring into it. There's a satyr. Many of the aspects that they bring into the books, of course, are built just for 5th edition. So with wanting to put in any type of a spin, that Grecian spin into your campaign is super easy because you've got everything broken down, ready to bring into your own campaign world and into your games. So it's definitely a great aspect if you like that kind of historical, mythological.
Right, it's a whole different kind of fantasy from just your straight old dungeon.
And so when they start talking more and more about the gods, so this is one of the things that really impressed me was some of the imagery. Again, you can see in the darkest shadow areas, they've got everything that's, you can see the universe through the shadows, which I thought was really cool. The artwork on this is just absolutely
the
amazing.
artwork is mind-boggling.
Now, I did not get the digital of this. I just got the book, which for me I actually prefer, unless I'm going to be sharing the content with my players on D&D Beyond. But the book alone, I can also just have at the table or loan out if people need to use it, if they want to build characters, if we want to play this type of a campaign. There is a lot of opportunity. But the way they've done some of the gods, and they go through and talk about, if you're getting the favor of a god, if you're a cleric of one of the gods, the different types of aspects that your character will get. So look at that artwork. It is just absolutely stunning and definitely something that is very different and unique.
And that was a big piece of it, is this was very different than the other encounter books that you had gotten over the time we've been together. And just really the whole idea of doing an adventure in that kind of setting really excites me, actually.
And I think one of the cool things too is it's very different if you've been playing a lot in like the Sword Coast region. If you're looking for a change of pace, really throwing something different at the table, you can pop this out and do, even if it's a short campaign, pop something here, and it's a completely different look and feel and style, and really open up a lot of opportunities for your players to stretch themselves in a completely different setting, but also completely different types of goals.
Yeah.
Because here it is focused more on that kind of bridging the gap between being a normal human, being this fantastic, almost mythical hero, and the gods. So it's that Hercules, that Perseus.
It's that, I mean, it's the stuff of so many movies that you've seen that were done so well. And I think that all by itself, and just, I mean, you read a lot of literature about it in school, and so feels like to me something that a person could really get into and have that element of fantasy, but at the same time that element of history.
Yeah, so as you get into the book a little bit more, after it talks about character creation and the types of characters, new races and classes, and then the gods, then you get into some of the locations, the primary locations of the book, which is absolutely fascinating as well. If you're doing any type of world building, even if you're not going with a Grecian theme, it gives a good foundation for you to start thinking about how you want to build and present your gaming world. So you don't have to copy it and have it in the same location, but it lays it out in a real good format for you to be able to build a world that feels like it's got good history, it's got good lore, it's got some realism, fantasy, realism built into it. Like you're not just making it up on the spot. You can actually season your world with a lot of details.
Well, things that would really resonate with somebody that has a harder time connecting to strictly fantasy.
And then it starts talking some about the different kind of factions in the world, some of the different ways that different groups of followers of the gods behave and act in the different areas. So again, it kind of builds it in if you want to look at, how to do cultists or thieves guilds, things like that. It gives good ideas on how different types of characters, not characters per se, NPCs, I guess is the correct term, but how different types of figures would be behaving in game worlds that you can build and create. And again, the artwork is just absolutely stunning throughout. You can see that horned god there, just in the cosmos. So cool and unique and different from what has been done before. Like this image here. I mean, this I've played it. Campaign that I do play called the Kingdoms Vespar, or Beyond the Western Coast, really deals with Theros Dune. And when I saw this image of this chain down into the underworld, or chains, I guess, rather, down into the underworld, boy, it just gave me Theros Dune. It feels like crazy, but again, just look at some of this artwork. That's kind of an update from the old deities and demigods, where you've got two priestesses fighting by using incantations of their gods. So really super cool. Again, kind of touching that first edition, bringing it up to date in 5th edition, and that kind of callback. You can see it's got a lot of different omens. Of course, omens and things like that were very big for Grecian myths. A lot of this was built right off of Greek mythology.
There's another great not finished mini.
Yeah, so another centaur miniature that I've yet to do. I've got to pop it in some boiling water. Here are a couple more out of the Greek tips. These are pillars. You can see her head is a little canted. I've got to get her in boiling water. These are ones I've yet to paint. I'm working on a diorama that I'm hoping to get done for ReaperCon, but I'm moving slow on it. I need to get my pot of boiling water so I can get these 3 miniatures kind of put together, assembled, and get into a place where I can then paint them and build the diorama. But again, it all goes back to having that good material that drove the purchase of this with the Bones 5 Greek Odyssey.
Well, and for me, so I've always had fascination with Greece, period, anyhow. And so to kind of dig into it from this perspective, I want to play with you when you do this game, and I don't do quite as much of the gaming as you do.
So cool. They've got different temple layouts. Again, a lot of this is really based around that thought process of the gods being very much a part of the world, which is something that I really enjoy in my gameplay. I don't have the gods be too distant. So extremely cool, very, very cool. A lot of different, as I said, maps for different temples. You can even move these into ruins. It tells you how to kind of transfer them if you want to have them like live and being used down into ruins. It gives adventure hooks for different areas.
I was going to say, there are some different, like, encounters that they kind of give you the bases for.
Yep. And yeah, all based again around the areas, the gods, and the whole 9 yards. There are just so much content in this. Again, especially if you're looking at world building, it is a fantastic just way to read through it and start getting creative ideas. The overall layout, I think, goes pretty well. It's not like super overwhelming to where you have to know everything. If you're using this source book, pick a location, and after the characters are created, you can quickly and easily dive right into gameplay. So it's, again, because it's using established mechanics, it's super easy to then just jump right into it. Plenty of information for you to expand the game on based on what your player characters are doing in the game, how to challenge them with different gods, whether they're your heroes are going up against one or several gods. Lots of cool areas that they can go and explore with details, and you can roll for random or just pick to kind of fill in the gaps as you're doing adventure building. The kind of connectivity between the different locations as well as all the different gods allows for a lot of good ways to make sure you have good story progression that's all interconnected. So whether you're starting out on the surface and you go into the underworld, or you're on the surface and you go up into the heavens, there are ways to utilize these contents to draw the characters into different stories that are best going to suit what they're after in their gameplay. And as for a GM, again, I think the content itself is super awesome to be able to draw inspiration from. So even if you're not playing in the world, just drawing inspiration from it is really cool.
The art is just
art is
absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, extremely stunning, extremely stunning. And it goes back into Magic the Gathering cards. I know there's a lot of focus on the artwork on those. Again, I'm not a player, so I don't collect them or anything, but I've seen some, and the artwork is really cool. But this, to have it in a book, is actually really, really sweet. It goes through and talks about some of the artifacts and magic weapons. Of course, it does list in quite a few, but there are some really cool ones if you were looking at peppering in some magic items that you want to have different for your campaign. A lot of good ideas on how to utilize not only what they have, but some of the ways that they look at magic creation. And then, of course, moving towards the back, you've got the bestiary. So again, the setup, the way this book is laid out is very similar to all the other source books. But the bestiary really brings in a lot of cool creatures. You've got archons, you've got ashen riders. There is your Cerberus, and so you can bring in the Cerberus. There is a Chimera.
So cool. Okay.
So generally, you think of iron golems, right? This one is a Colossus of Acros, and when you compare the two, the iron golem to the Colossus, there are some similarities, but you can see where the Colossus is definitely a much more powerful figure. It's not just an animated statue. It's not just that iron golem. It gives a lot of kind of opportunity to make these creatures more epic. Some of the like devils and demons are just, again, really, really cool. Fleece mane lions. So again, things that are kind of mythological. Here are some different giants. So some of these you've seen in games, like this one here, the 100-handed one, where the arms float around and kind of attack on their own. So he's got all these different arms that are all weaponed, and just think of the nastiness of that. 4 longsword attacks or 2 rock attacks. I mean, just massive. A different type of harpy. There is a hippocamp, so a little bit of a tweak from the hippocampus out of the monster manual. And then it goes into some of the kind of NPCs. So hoplite soldiers, hydras, there's the leonins, Nyx fleece, nymphs.
So just different races that you encounter.
Yep, all different types of creatures you can encounter. Some of them could be good, bad, indifferent, all depending on how you do them. But quite a bit on the tritons, which I thought was really cool. The way they have kind of changed up these tritons is really interesting and really makes them a lot more tied into their game world, into the world of Theros. But definitely an amazing. Now here it goes into some mythic monsters. So this one here is pretty nasty. Oh, that's not going to capture it well. Let's get it. There we go. So if you think of Lolth, this one is Arasta, and kind of a demon spider, pretty nasty. But yeah, quite a few different creatures in there. But definitely a heck of a source book, a very cool read if you're not even planning to use the location, but use it for world building, idea generating, looking at it to bring in creatures or encounters from Theros into your gaming world. The biggest opportunity, in my opinion, though, is to actually play in Theros. There is a huge, huge benefit to changing out from the Sword Coast, where most games are located at, to completely change it on its head and move campaign to Theros, where your players just get a good change of pace, a very different flavor, and the opportunity to explore different type of game setting and game storytelling, collaborative game storytelling. Because rather than just going after loot and slaying a dragon, here it really establishes early on that you are the mythological heroes, or the stuff that legends will soon be made on.
Make a really great story. It's always good to change up flavors.
Yeah, 100%. So Mythic Odysseys of Theros, I have to say, even though I initially was, like I said, it wasn't really on my radar as a must-have, I am extremely happy that it was gotten for me. I rate it actually a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of your books. Like, again, I kind of had that interest in Greece and the Odysseys and whatnot anyhow, so it was kind of a selfish buy, but definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. It met every expectation I had.
Yeah, and for me, going into it without any expectations, it really blew me away. So definitely I rate that one a 10 out of 10, a fantastic buy, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who plays D&D, regardless of whether you're into that campaign setting or not, because there's just so much information that drives creativity. I think you could definitely benefit from getting a copy of the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. I think it's a big win. Definitely something that I think every GM should have and round out their collection of locations to run games in. So the second item I got with that was the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters. And again, this one was not one that was on my must-have list.
So the reason that I zeroed in on this was you get asked to do a lot of one-shots. And
Right.
so my thought, just from what I could see, was, hey, this is, just a great idea builder for one-shots.
Yeah, and the reason it wasn't on my radar at first was simply because I am a pretty creative GM, and I've been doing this a long, long time, and I tend to recycle a lot of stuff so that I can, one, be very familiar with it, but two, um, just reuse things and reskin things. If I build something that doesn't work, I get an opportunity to fix what didn't work and try it again. If I have something that works really well, then I've got almost automatic winner. But the cool thing about this is it actually starts out just talking about how to use the book and kind of what it's there for. So starting out with one-shot adventures. If you are a GM, full-time or part-time, and you are looking at taking a break from your current campaign, you're looking at hosting an adventure league, you're looking at supporting your local game store and hosting a table just for a night, it has some really cool one-shots.
Tomb of the Forgotten Paladin.
Yep. How about Presto Changeo?
Eh.
Mother Knows Best. An Actor's Life. Oh, that one's not showing.
So it looks like it's a really big variety, touching on a lot of different things.
Very much. And the cool thing about it is, regardless of the type of game you play, because we all play different types of games. Mine, I tend to have very epic, story-centric, more serious toned games. And though they can sometimes, have their funny moments and have some bits of fun and, kind of chaos to them, overall, the overarching stories that I run are very serious themed, very epic. And to be able to do one-shots, now I have a couple of one-shots. I have one that I use for Halloween a lot, and it's designed to just really pick at the fears that many people share in common and really hit those kind of Halloween themes in a kind of grimdark way. Now, I don't do any special Christmas ones or anything like that, but I have done a couple where I've wanted it to be a little more fun, to where I'll have the players actually be kobolds, and I have just some pre-generated kobold characters, and they're ridiculously named, and they have to go through and work together as best they can to stop a party of adventurers from entering. I get to play the adventurers going into this kobold lair, and the players have to play the kobolds to try to keep me out. It's fun, it's wacky, it's different. Some of the hijinks that they get into with their, kind of ridiculous toys and traps and everything can be fun. But again, there are times where having a little bit of variety, whether it's something a little more murder mystery, something a little more just fun, can be very rewarding to change the pace and really make your gaming group experience a lot of different, what's the word I'm looking for? Emotions, not emotions. Engagement, maybe. A lot of different feels, maybe.
I think one of the great things is, so with the one-shots in here especially, you don't have to do nearly the prep.
Yeah, they are laid out very much just like if you were doing one of the campaigns. And I would say any of your campaigns, whether it's Curse of Strahd or Rime of the Frost Maiden, the layout is exactly the same. It tells you what you need for setup. It gives you the little bit of history. You're able to do a little bit of randomness or pick things out to help kind of set the stage and get things moving and going. But then you run it just like you would an average adventure. But everything is prepped out, ready, laid out for you. Nothing you need to do aside from just pre-read it, I recommend, and then follow along.
But a great quick game.
And so that's kind of how it starts out. With the layouts, it's going to just walk you through each of the sections. It's going to give you all the maps you need, so you have the locations, whether you put it out on grid paper or you're working on a virtual table. I mean, you're able to actually go through and pop things in. So that's your whole first part of the book, is pre-made one-shot adventures, which is fantastic, again, for lots of different reasons. Now, the second part here goes into just taverns, inns, shops, and guild halls. So this goes through and gives you pre-built locations. There are ways that you can randomly roll or pick who's there and if you want to have encounters in those locations. So these are common areas that adventurers find themselves. I know a lot of people hate the you meet in a tavern kind of way, but if you're just starting a gaming group or you're starting a fresh campaign, what a quick and easy way to get the party gathered together and working on the same page, because everything you need is already here.
You can throw those random pieces into the bigger overarching story of your whole campaign
without having to do a whole lot of prep work and pre-work. It's got fantastic maps, so depending on the type of area you want to use. So this one here is a good example. This one here is all, this part here is built above ground, but this here is all below ground. So it's got a lot of, and you can put that in a lot of different locations. Here are guild halls. If you've got people who have a background with like merchant guilds, which is one of the backgrounds that a character can check, if they join a guild, and whether it's a merchant or a thieves guild, whatever, a way to incorporate guilds without having to do a lot of legwork on who are they and what do they do, and just a lot of opportunity for you to bring in. So this one here kind of cracked me up. This one is called the Ruby Sunbeam. It's a druid barista.
Huh.
It cracks me up because in each of my campaigns, the cities have a very common inn and tavern that's called the Green Oak Inn. And I use it as, it's kind of my McDonald's.
It's a chain.
Almost. It's a chain. So it's always exactly the same. But with the tree growing in the center of the location and everything, it made me think back to one of the things that I use a lot. But it's a lot of fun. Here's all different. This is the red herring. So this could be definitely coastal. You can see it's got slat roof. There is a small chapel. There is a storehouse. There is a guardhouse. Just all kinds of locations. This one here, if you want to bring in dreams, fill in some time for downtime. What are some things that you can bring in?
Which is kind of cool when you're like going into a city. A lot of people will get in there and they'll go to do their shopping.
Yeah.
And you waste a whole session shopping. Well, you can throw in some of this kind of stuff to just spice it up a little bit. Maybe start people thinking more towards getting back to adventuring.
Absolutely. There is an open bazaar. This one here I thought was pretty cool. This is a tower that's under construction. Just all kinds of things. There's an alchemy. And another thing you can do is when the PCs are going into town, generally they're going to go to the inn to get an ale. They're going to go to try to buy arms and armor and magic items. You can use these as their locations. So you don't have to build or design or draw out or sketch out. You've got a lot of opportunity that you can do just right at your fingertips. And then this is pretty cool because shopping is such a thing. I know for many of my campaigns, anytime the players get to a city, the first thing they want to do is go and buy +5 weapons and +5 armor. And my games don't work like that. I stick very much rules as written. So while there's a lot of magic in the world and a lot of magic items, the party over the course of 20 levels is going to get about 100 total magic items. And so I don't have it to where they can go and buy 5 gold piece health potions, by the case.
Yeah.
But this is pretty cool because it goes through arcane items you can purchase, and they're not like game breaking. So just as an example, there's a chef's knife, which is a wondrous item and does require attunement. But this is basically it's a +1 dagger, and you can carve off like steaks and stuff off your opponents. So it's just kind of silliness.
It's silliness, but it's also more stuff, more depth that you can add to your magic shop.
Absolutely, 100%. Like I said, nothing's game breaking. But yeah, just the amount of locations that you can, they're just there. And they've got details for, again, what types of encounters you can do. It gives what they kind of recommend for important NPCs. The next one, temples, tombs, and crypts. So if you're looking at early adventures, or you want some downtime, if you've got a cleric, one of the things that hopefully their god is kind of measuring them on is, are they obeying their, sacred days or sacred rituals. Things like this are a great way to drive more character development and character depth to the player character to reward when they choose those classes. Paladins, same thing. So a lot of times, many DMs aren't utilizing those aspects in their games. Temples, things like that, can be great ways to go in and get healing, but beyond that, what a great way to show that the gods are an active part of your game world, and to show what kind of boons and opportunities those types of characters can get. And so that one is the Sun Temple. So it rotates around and tracks the sun.
Chronoscope feel to it, kind of.
Yeah, very much. You could also use something like that in like a wizard's tower.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they're trying to maybe do some research or something like that. It's one of the things with this here. There's so many things that you can just pull and use.
It's not a graveyard.
This is actually a graveyard, the town graveyard.
That is cool.
So all the mausoleums, and again, maybe you've got someone who in their backstory has put that they had a famous relative who died. They can go and pay respects, and you can have an encounter here.
That's actually amazing.
You can have the town graveyard actually get, start seeing zombies and skeletons coming up. A great opportunity
just a good depth builder.
Yeah, just to add some stuff. And then this one here, the Great Outdoors, another favorite of mine. With this section here, this goes into all different types of more open areas. So these are things that you can pepper in between cities and towns. This one here is one that I actually really, really enjoy. This is a tree that has a home built in it. And it's the harbor house, so it's used like an inn. But what a cool thing for retired druid to have along the road. Something like that is really cool. Cliffs with different types of crossings to get from point A to point B. You have to go through all these different channels and backlogs and bridges and just all kinds of cool stuff. Thick jungles, coastline with a cave, river port, seaport, all kinds of things that you can just pepper in the wilderness for just random opportunities. Homes, hideouts, labs, and lairs. So this one here, you start getting more and more into where I think of as adventure building opportunity. So these are things where I'm going to pop in my bandits and brigands. This is going to be their kind of lair, and as they're attacking, maybe it's up to the PCs to find out, one, where is their lair, and then two, try to get into those lairs. So a lot of opportunity to bring adventure in. And again, this, you can use this as part of an ongoing campaign. You can pepper these in, or you can use them in one-shots. Super, super cool. Let me see if I can find one of the ones that I thought was really cool. Was, there we go. This one here, the layout here is like almost inn-ish. So this one I plan to use as another inn. Just, yeah, lots and lots of location opportunities. There's a secret meeting room. Different types of areas that you can have your NPCs kind of layer up and possibly use these as initial home bases. So this one here is a small tower keep. So something like this, I would actually post in the NPCs to have maybe brigands have taken it over, but then the characters, once they drive these brigands away and clear out the area, why not let this be their starting home base? I think that's a great look and way to play the game. And then rooftops, alleyways, and tunnels. So if you're running more urban games, you've got characters who are thieves and want to do more stealthy robbery, burglary, assassination, whatever the case may be. Or you want your NPCs to be doing that and then the heroes to stop them. This has all different types of rooftops. This almost makes me think of like Assassin's Creed stuff here. City layouts, sewers, alleys, grottos, caverns, and then randomized tables. So if you're at the table, having this ready to go can be a lifesaver. You start with like an NPC generator, being able to come up with quick descriptions, what they're about, kind of how to describe them, what they're after, how they're going to interact with the characters. Just a lot of fun stuff. But a whole ton of those. You've got adventure-specific category tables, so as you're starting to come up with adventures. Random tavern generator, so what is the tavern like? What are the people like? So here's just a quick example. If you rolled a D100 and got a 21, they're going to meet Balor, who is reckless. And then it just goes through and you're able to build out some of these NPCs. So random curses. If they come across someone that they wrong along the way, and then an NPC gives them a curse, why not roll a random curse? Party makeup marker. If you want to have a quick party get together. This is a great way if you're building a pre-built party for your players for a one shot or something like that, or if you're having them meet up with a different party, maybe in a competitive way, who's going to get the adventure, who's going to finish it first. But both of those books I received, and again, neither of them was on my must-have list. However, with both of them, I have had so much excitement to be able to get. With my random encounter builder, I also would give this one a 10 out of 10. I was extremely excited once I started digging into it and getting myself more fresh ideas and having a lot of tools that I can pull and use that are new and fresh to me, but also to my players. So we're exploring and experiencing them together. Sometimes as a GM, that's super important as well, because while I like having that familiarity, being able to use things that I know are going to be successful or rework things that I feel didn't get done quite as well, sometimes exploring new things together as a group is super, super rewarding. So both of those books I give a 10 out of 10 and highly recommend. I have to say to the content creators, great job. All the artwork, all the artists, good job on that. And of course, Wizards of the Coast for putting these supplements out. Great job. I think it definitely helps all of us to grow the community and offer new, exciting, different opportunities for players across the globe. And I think that supplement book was the same price, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, actually, that one was a little bit less. That one was 23.
23, gotcha, nice. So those are the two items that we are reviewing today. Both of them surprisingly got 10 out of 10. Just because I do try to be a little critical when it comes to rating. I don't want to mislead people or try to get people to buy things if I don't think it's worth it. But I really feel both of these supplements are worth the price. If you're looking for something to freshen up your game, to give you ideas, to just drive creative juices, look at new opportunities to play with some unique, different, fresh options, I would say either one of these you're not going to go wrong with. I think you'd be happy that you picked them up if you choose to. And yeah, that's our reviews for this week. I hope they were insightful, helpful, and really gave you an opportunity to see the materials and hear from a first-hand perspective what I thought of the materials before you purchase, and ultimately it was something you were not after. So I hope it helps you make a good decision on whether or not you want to purchase these goods. And of course, let me know if you are watching this in a VOD. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought if you've gotten these, or if this has helped you make up your mind whether or not you want to purchase either of these books. I'd love to hear from you. That's our show tonight. We're ending just a few minutes early, but unless you have anything else to add.
Nope, that's it.
I think, yeah, it was pretty good. 2 products at once, so really nice. Now we get to go feed the cat. They're calling. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Of course, make sure to check our schedule out, see when we're going live. Tomorrow we'll be live in the studio doing some painting and just talking in general about RPGs. So hope to see you then. Have a great weekend and let us know where will your adventures take you.